There are so many things to look out for when you visit an English parish church. In this film, I want to introduce you to the fascinating world of the funeral hatchment. Have you ever wandered into an old church and seen large diamond-shaped coats of arms hanging on the wall? Many people assume that these are royal arms and tend not to pay them much attention. Royal arms do indeed exist in many of our churches, but the vast majority are not diamond-shaped, for these are hatchments, the arms of individuals whose funerals were held in this church. Hatchments are usually coats of arms painted on canvas stretched onto a wooden frame. Whilst the majority date from the 18th and 19th centuries, some are to be found from the 17th century down to the present day. Their use replaced that of funeral armour, which had traditionally been placed on the coffins of knights or armigerous people, and which can be seen in churches to this day. There were usually two identical hatchments made, both of which carried in the funeral procession of the individual whose arms they represent. After the funeral, one would be left in the church, the other taken home to be hung as a token of mourning. Here is Kew Palace showing the funeral hatchment of Queen Charlotte in 1818. Hatchments can be very complicated to read, but some basic information is easily obtained. Firstly, the background. If it's black on the left and white on the right, it's for a married man. If it's black on the right and white on the left, it's a married woman. If it's totally black, it could be for a bachelor, widower, widow or spinster, and it will be dependent on what you can see on the coat of arms. For a widower, the central shield will be divided in two, reflecting both parties' arms. If it's a bachelor, as here at Diddington in Cambridgeshire, there'll be one shield in the centre. If it's a widow or spinster, there'll be one lozenge in the centre, not a shield. This one is to a widow, as the lozenge is divided into two sections. The dexter side on the viewer's left shows her husband's arms, and the sinister or right side, from our perspective, shows hers. There are further variations for men with more than one wife, but they're less common. Having looked at the background, let's look at the motto. If the person has a family motto, it'll often be used, or if not, then a generic motto, the most common being Memento Mori, remember me, or Resurgam, I will rise again. Sometimes the shield will have supporters. This almost always means they were a peer. Here we see a lion and a deer. In this case, above the shield will be a coronet, denoting their rank of baron, viscount, earl, marquess or duke. Here at Stackpole in Pembrokeshire, we find an earl's coronet. On top of most shields to men who do not have a peerage will be a helmet with a crest above, like this Saracen's head. Below the crest, and sometimes almost enveloping the whole shield, will be mantling, swirly fabric which often looks more like leaves or branches. So they are the basics. There's much more information required before you understand all the coats of arms in our churches, but at least for hatchments they've all been recorded in a series of books published many years ago by Peter Summers and still available second-hand. It's well worth taking these about with you because they tell us so much more about the people who were associated with our churches in the past.